I really can't believe that I keep finding things just like this, hiding in plain sight. But today, I'm gonna let you know how I found it and show you what else is hiding out here. In early fall of 2023, I found things that I never even knew existed. By pure chance of luck, I was riding my e-bike on some random trails, wound up here, and here's a look at what I found. This is just another example that there's still things out there waiting to be found or discovered. And in this video, we're going to extensively explore this area to see what else we could find. If you'd like to help, all you need to do is come along with me. We have a lot of footwork to put in today, and based on what I found accidentally by scouting this area, I can only imagine what else could be hiding out here. Alright, I made some good progress, as you've probably seen in that video montage of me progressing and trekking across the land here. We did bypass a few interesting things. That's because I wanted to come to one starting point and work my way in one direction. I didn't want to bounce around. So, although I did walk past a lot of interesting things, we now have a starting point. So, there's a few things I want to tell you of interest. Number one is the land behind you here has been worked. It's all man-made piles from the mining operations. What we're just walking on right behind me here is an old rail line, which I'm going to talk more about in a little bit. The one main interesting thing about this whole area and this operation that took place here is that it incorporated multiple towns. So right now we're in the town of Old Forge, Pennsylvania, pizza capital of the world. So going in this direction, the rail line continued across, went across the Lackawanna River to the Pennsylvania Coal Company Old Forge colliery. It was below, I believe, Howard Street. So the lines went across the river over a bridge, and there was a colliery there with buildings where the coal was processed. There was even a little yard for the storage of the gondola cars that carry the coal. Now, as you could imagine, this was not for normal freight traffic. This is only to service the colliery. So although multiple lines came through here, its destination was the colliery site. So essentially this was like a spur line that came off the main line, which I'm going to show you where it's at and who owned and operated these lines as well. But getting back to what I was saying, Old Forge is where the colliery site was and where we are right now. Going in this direction, it's going to take us into, I actually forgot what the name of the town was. So going in this direction is going to take us into Duryea, Pennsylvania. Now there's a creek flowing behind me, and that kind of separates some boundaries or towns. So on the other side of that creek, where there was wastelands of coal and silt piles, that incorporated both Lower Moosic and Avoca, Pennsylvania. And I will show you that now. It doesn't look like it used to. It actually has been reclaimed as of recent. But we're going to walk this old rail line, making our way towards Duryea, because as I showed you in the opener, there's some buildings back there, some structures, and some other things just hiding in plain sight. As mentioned, I did find this accidentally in early fall riding my e-bike. I was coming in Duryea. I veered off, I think it was York Avenue, and just started following trails, and led me back here, and I made discoveries that I never even knew existed. So that's what we're going to check out today. It's going to be a fun-filled video full of exploration and adventure, and a little bit of history as well. Walking on the old rail bed now. Man-made pile off to our right. The creek is down there. The reclaimed land is over there. But there's two sets of tracks that came through here. One to the colliery site and one from the colliery site. And it held and operated with full-scale train cars, full-size gondola cars that held the coal that was going to be delivered to its destinations. So what I can tell you is that this spur line that went to the colliery site was operated by the Erie Railroad. Spur lines continued, and I'm going to show you where they would have met up with the Erie Main Line. Now today the Erie Main Line is used by Luzerne and Susquehanna Railway, which is, I believe, a subsidiary of M.J. Corman Railroad. So the line is still in use, and there are still remnants of track back here. But there's definitely two lines, and from what I saw on my rail guide app, there's even a holding siding off the one line to either allow traffic to pass by, like additional cars, or just a little storage line. Now the site where the colliery was, you may be wondering, why aren't you showing us that? Well, there's honestly nothing to show. I did scout that area as well once I found out where it was located and where these lines went to. So over there now, it's basically reclaimed land. There were some old coal and silt piles, which are now being reclaimed, and I believe they're building a business site back there. There's no remnants of the bridge that went across the river, and the little yard that was there, it's gone. Everything's ripped up. There is a fenced-in area where I believe there's some building foundations, but it's gated and posted. Wasn't about to enter it, so there's nothing worth showing over there. I wanted to focus primarily on what there is to see and check out over here. So what you see here is wasteland of coal mining. Just coal and silt piles. It's now a unofficial off-road park. Well, this is what's left of it, mostly, because on the other side of the creek, that big barren landscape was identical to this, just on a larger scale. That was reclaimed, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, and it's basically just a flat, barren landscape. From what I can remember, though, there was no main structures or anything over there. There was maybe a foundation or two, some random pieces of steel, but primarily it was just a wasteland. It's where they left the, I guess, unnecessary, unwanted material. So it looked pretty much identical to this, just larger. And this is what's left of it. Now, when I was here scouting it out, when I found it accidentally, I did go up and over those hills. There's nothing back there. Eventually it leads to a neighborhood and homes. So it's just processed material like this, waste material, eventually meets a tree line, and there are homes probably 150 yards away in that direction. And here is a better look at that wasteland. I'll give you even a better look later on when I have a clearing. But as mentioned, there's the creek that kind of divides the area. But this was owned and operated and used by the coal mining company. Now over there is a rail line. That is former D&H, Delaware and Hudson Railroad, now used and operated by Norfolk Southern. So trains do come through here daily, 11Z and 10Z, north and southbound from Binghamton to Roanoke, Virginia, I believe. So we may hear some train action. But further up, and it's hard to imagine right here, but this was essentially where one of the rail lines did come. And I have evidence of that just a short ways up there. Here's a better visual representation of how it looks now. But you can also see the size of it. It goes all the way over there to the L&S rail line, which was Erie, and came all the way up here behind the ball field and football field. So this was all mine wasteland, piles anywhere from 50 to 100 feet tall, and it's just an awesome place to come and ride and explore. Really popular amongst locals back in the 90s. And I didn't know that they reclaimed this until I actually came here in early fall when I stumbled upon this site on this side. I was able to make my way over there, and I'm like, wait, this looks vaguely familiar. Well, after checking the map images, the timeline on Google Earth, I was able to scan back, and I was able to see, yes, this was the area that I did remember, and it did transform. I think it took maybe 1 to 2 years, probably closer to 2 years, for them to take everything out of here and leave it looking how it does today. There is a culvert over there, which I will show you later. It does go under the rail line. And we're going to head back up on top here because I'm going to show you the evidence of the rail line that came through here. There was a pipe that came right across here. It's broken off, but it does continue in the direction we're going in. As I was making my trek across this land, I walked past this little garbage site here, which is not uncommon, but I was unfortunate. People always find a way to bring stuff back here instead of disposing of it properly, but nothing but junk and garbage. Some flower pots, mac and cheese container, soda bottles. A lot of it's recyclable, so I don't know why they dump it. Been here for a while though. Looks like it's been kind of rummaged through. Probably someone looking for old glass bottles or something. But right behind it and up here is where we're gonna go. I just need to find a easy access through here. I present to you remnants of the old rail line, at least one of them. This is the little ridge line, and some of the tracks are still left. Not only that, we do have the ties from the rail bed. Now this material has been pushed and moved and altered over time, so you can see the true rail bed just over there, but this piece of track is exposed. But this material is mounded over, but the ties are still protruding out the sides there. So this is indeed one of the rail beds, one of 2 lines that came through here. There's another section of track right there, and it does continue in this direction. And actually here's a plate. This is what the rail would have laid on, and they would have spiked down into those holes. Now it does get a bit more overgrown here, so it's not really worth trekking in this direction right here. Everything's been buried and pushed and covered. But there is something over there I do want to show you, and then back there is where we're going to find some of those structures and foundations and other things hiding in plain sight. I actually picked it up out of the ground, so just demonstrating again, it'd be laying on here, the rail would be going across it, and then the spike, which is actually still embedded in it, would get hammered into it, and that lip of the spike would go against the crest of the rail or the base of the rail and hold it in place. And that's how it was done. See the rail bed right there. So almost directly across from it is something I found last time, and it's still here. And I don't know what to make of it. There was a sign on here last time saying, I can't remember exactly, it's something like, I know you've been here, or I know who you are, something like that. I don't know if they had cameras set up here or this was a hunting blind of sorts. Just a little bit odd that they have this right here on this tree. Now all these limbs are cut, all the branches. There is a metal bracket up there, but there's nothing attached to it. But they may have had a trail camera or something. Yeah, just a bit weird. It's actually kind of faded. Let's see. I don't use something. It's really faded. I can't make it out. But there are some, excuse me, large concrete blocks laying there on their side as well. I don't believe they're stones. They look like they are, yeah, poured concrete. I can see some notches in them. But if you guys have any idea what this could be or why it's here, by all means, share your thoughts down below. Another concrete block there with a cap on it, covered in some nature's carpet. I'm guessing something to do with hunting. It's the only thing I could think of. Thankfully I'm here past hunting season. But there's actually some, yeah, this has been shot at. Maybe this was used for target practice. Yeah, maybe that's it. I'm seeing some bullet holes. So maybe they hung stuff from there and shot from over there. That's the only thing that makes sense. There's a bit of a fork in the road. We actually just came down from that direction. The old rail bed right there. And this way just goes off into the culm area. Nature's really reclaiming it. A lot of pine and birch trees. Some hills here, and beyond the hills is more homes. So as far as I know, there's nothing back there. Again, I did ride around here when I did find this area, and I didn't see anything that stood out. Nothing significant anyways. I do know there are a lot of tires dumped back here, and a lot of them are laced together. There's some over there alongside the one trail. There's some here. There's actually a little blockage here that somebody made with some pieces of tree, which I don't know why they would have done that. Again, maybe for more target practice, who knows. It's all the tires there. They could have been shooting. That could be like the backstop buffer for the bullets. And it looks like a lot of material has been dumped from up there. But again, as far as I know, nothing right around here. We're going to continue on the trail, and it's going to take us to some of the things I showed you in the beginning of this video. Some building type structures, some things that I'm going to require your help in identifying its use of, and some other stuff. So as we continue on, it's going to get better and better. Even after we pass that stuff, there's more to see. So make sure you watch to the end. But before we get into exploring that stuff, what I'm going to do for you is play like a slideshow of sorts of map images. Maps showing when this coal mining company was in operation, from when it closed, and how the land has transformed over time. I'm also going to highlight and pinpoint several key things on there, including, the rail line that we just walked down, the mining reclamation land. I'll show you how that transformed over time, and the buildings and structures up here. I'll show you where they are in relation as well on those map images. And that'll give you a better sense as to what this area used to look like, what took place, how it's transformed, and more so, what we're looking at today. welcome back. So those images now put things in a better perspective as to what we're dealing with, what we're looking at, and how it's changed over the decades. I'm back here in the area where the rail line was. This is something of a foundation of sorts, or a wall. It's all stones that are cemented together. There's a squared off block right there. And as I come over here, there's some more ties and another piece of rail I just found as I'm looking right now. Again, just more confirmation that the rail line did come through here. There's also a pipe protruding right there as well. Now, as mentioned, there are two lines, or there was two lines. I don't know where the other one was placed. It could have been further over there, closer to the creek. It could have been right next to this one where we're walking. It could have been a little bit further away, but there's definitely two lines, without a doubt. There's no denying that, but this is the only one that's still semi-intact and remaining. But again, this has been altered and changed, and looks completely different how it did from so many years and decades ago. Looking back at the tree line here is where the rail line continued. And I'm thinking now that the second line was closer over here. And I'll let you know why I think that in just a little bit. But this is what we have today. One of a few things. And we're going to explore it to the best of our ability. I do have a flashlight. We're going to go inside there on top of it. There's another wall there. There's something on the other side of that. And two things behind here. And those are the things I'm going to probably require your help for, if not all of it. I'm always open to your input and comments and feedback about the things we see. All I know is 100% it was for the mining operation. As to how it was used, well, that's probably up for debate. Now, this is what I spotted when I came through here on my bike, riding along the old rail line. Didn't realize it was an old rail line at first. And I looked over, and you have to understand too, in early October, everything was still, lush and green and grown in. So it was hard to see, but these were still visible. And that's how I knew, like, oh, there's something back here. And in case there's any question, if this place is abandoned, well, there's your answer right there. Basketball, considered a toy, right? I will give you a shot of myself compared to that. It's not an extremely large structure as far as height-wise. There is some material pushed up in front of it. We have 3 openings, a circular hole, and a hole or hatch on top. And we'll go inside and check it out in more detail. We'll also go on top too and see what it looks like on top of there. This appears to be storage of sorts, whether it's for coal or equipment or both, but it does line up with the top of that as well. But if you're ready, let's head inside and check it out. My light of choice today is the Olight Perun 2. See how good it lights it up in here. So from opening to the back, it's about probably 15 feet to the farthest wall there. And then from opening to there is maybe 10 feet. Right at the bat here, we do have some pieces of it here. It's like a wall and maybe another support or something. It is partially filled up with some old Coleman silt material. Got the light on now. So here we are. There is the opening, the circular opening. You can actually see some separation from the walls. There's daylight coming through. There is an echo in here. It does sound pretty stable. Oh, okay. I didn't realize we came upon a crime scene here. There is a good scattering of bones here. I'm imagining something perished here. Well, there's actually a lot of bones. There's no carcass or anything like that, so it's nothing really nasty looking, but there are some various bones here, part of a spinal cord or vertebrae. Here's a jaw with some teeth. And down there is some more bones. Looks like a femur bone. I am having to hunch over. It's a low ceiling. All right, I'm able to stand up here. Hopefully you can see it's a little bit taller than me. It is really wet and damp. There's a little like a play school basketball hoop thing for kids. But yeah, there's some fairly large bones. I had the light too bright, so there you can see there's a bone there. There's another jawline. There's just bones everywhere, rib cage. And here is looking out from the inside. Now this is obviously divided because there's two openings here and there's one on the other side over there. So it's not completely open on the inside, but these two are. All right, we're actually standing up through the middle of it, looking on top of it. Just a layer of material on top of the concrete here. This is a cigarette butt. Someone's been here. I wonder if someone gutted an animal in here from hunting. That is a possibility as well. Coming down this side, well, there's a ton of bones in here. It's all there are bones. Everything you see, yep, that's deer right there. I can see the fur. So either a deer came in here and perished, or, well, someone gutted it. They wouldn't leave the bones here, I don't think. I'm guessing it perished in here. There is an old blanket right there. And, oh, there's a room behind this one. There's an opening up there. And I could see an open space. I'm going to try to at least get the camera up there. But you probably won't be able to see anything because there's no light in there. Interesting to say the least, I'll tell you that. It's almost like a garage of sorts, but more so for storage, I believe. Could have been dumped in from the top. That's why this mound of materials in here. Okay, so there's the opening. That goes to another room. I'm going to extend you guys up there and hopefully you'll see something, but most likely not. But it looks like a pipe probably came through there because there's the opening right there, the notch in the wall. So I'm guessing a pipe came through there at one time. That's the only thing that makes sense. But that is definitely another room, which I don't know how you get access to that. And I'm sticking you guys in the hole there, and I don't think you can see anything. My light is behind you, casting a shadow. But that's pretty certain that was a pipe. But I don't know what that room was for, where it went to, or how to get inside of it, but maybe we'll find out. Made it out of that one, and now we're gonna check out this one. Oh, okay, so that's why we can't come inside of this one, because there's no opening. Now right here is a thick steel braided cable, probably about 1 inch diameter. There's also a notch here in the concrete. I don't know if this was enclosed at one time or not, but it's not open now. It is built to last. It's strong. Still have that to check out, but I do want to get up behind it and see if we can find any openings for that back room and see what it looks like from the top. Maybe it'll help us identify its use. Walking up alongside of it, when I was inside of it, where that hole was with the pipe that went to the other room, I'm going to say is around here somewhere. I was able to come probably as far as this area right here. So there is this whole other space, but the land is built up around it. I don't see anything as far as an opening without having to dig, and even then there might not be an opening. Now officially walking on top of it, the landscape does kind of rise up and then plateaus on top. So beneath us is all concrete. There's the opening where I stood up inside of from before. And I can see all the rebar for the concrete. I'm wondering if this hole was always here or if someone created this hole afterwards. Looks like the rebar is cut, but also looks like that's how the material got inside of here. The opening in the corner here, which we saw, the rebar going through again, really thick rebar, about 1 inch diameter. Here's the view. The rail line would have been right there. The reclaimed land is on the other side. And here's looking down from where we entered on the inside. Now again, this land is for the most part parallel with that over there. That I don't know if it's solid concrete or is actually an opening. From here it looks like an opening. From the outside of it, it looks like it's completely solid. But I do know there is something on the other side, and there's also something back there. I'm saving that for a little bit later. That's, to me, a bit more fascinating. Found something else worth pointing out as well. So right there is where we just were. We're on top of that. And over here is a really large square block. Looks like it could have been a base or foundation for something. From top to bottom, at least what's exposed is probably about 4 feet. Lengthwise, about 8 feet. And there's a block on top of it as well. I want to get to the other side and see if there is anything. But this is 100% man-made. Something big or heavy was either anchored to this, supported by this, or in relation to this, used somehow. And back in the day, they used whatever materials were on hand for filling the concrete. Stones, rocks, pebbles, and even chunks of coal. Yes, that is embedded in the concrete. Another basketball. And here's the back side of it. So it's not as deep over here where the material is built up more, or it's just sloping down. There's a block on top of it. Nothing else around it, but it's stones throw away from the area we were inside of with all the bones. Things are about to get a bit more interesting. So now I'm back on top and over the area with the bones. That structure with the bones is right there. There's the other area, which I said was a wall, which may be hollow, but now I'm confirming it's hollow beneath us. There's various openings leading to an underground layer, and I believe right now I'm standing on top of a large concrete structure slash building. I need to pay close attention where I walk because there are holes everywhere. Some are bigger, some are smaller, but there's something beneath us. And I'm pretty certain we could definitely get inside of it. I don't know how far we could go, but the openings are all over the place. Before we get into that, before we get underground, let's walk straight ahead and check out that large wall Stuck. Ah, Jesus. Oh, look at what's been doing this. That is like really well chipped away. If you know what kind of animal could do that, by all means let me know. Hopefully it's not a large bear. That's also one of the reasons why I always carry protection with me. Never leave home without it. Okay, so I was incorrect. From the outside, it looked like this was just one solid piece of concrete here. But it does indeed go down and in. Yes, we could actually get underneath here. There's our access. But there's actually more over there as well. Man, what did we stumble onto this time? Actually, maybe not. I'm mistaken. So, yep, this is solid right here. I do see an opening there. I don't think that's going to be our way inside. I think where we need to go is going to be on the other side over there. There's some openings, I believe. As to the use of this, I don't know. This almost seems like a protective barrier. I wonder if maybe they stored dynamite under here, if it's like underground bunker of sorts. This is a protective line. There's also notches cut out where posts or beams or something would have been placed. Was something on top of here a building at one time, and this is the basement? A lot of unanswered questions, and like always, more questions than answers. I'm trusting the craftsmanship of the old timers because I don't think it's going to go anywhere. That section's crumbly. I'm not stepping on that, but I at least want to give you a good sense of scale of everything here. That wall, though, I'd say better part of 15 feet, top to bottom. Lengthwise, probably 40, 50 feet maybe. Found some pieces of angle iron sticking out of the ground here. Railroad ties. I believe this is the location of the second line. And this is what I saw from the rail bed. Again, it looked like it's just a completely solid block of concrete. But as we stood on top, we saw it is open on the inside. So now I do have solid confirmation of the second rail line. There's ties right here in correlation to that. The other rail line went right through here. So they were roughly maybe 10 to 15 feet apart at most. But two lines and a short holding siding line. And they came through and they wrapped around the curve, which we're going to continue on a little bit later. And over there was another temporary yard with numerous tracks for holding the gondola cars, and also where they would have met up with the Erie main line. I'm going to keep you guys rolling live here. I'm not going to cut this up right now. I am stuck. I'm going to keep you rolling live because this is my first time discovering what's beyond and behind here. And I want to do it together. As I said, I knew there had to have been more hiding out here, and without a doubt, there is. Yep, there's a secondary rail bed. Just more confirmation of it. So I'm not going to bother going inside of there. We know it doesn't go anywhere. Over here is a different story. I didn't know this was here until today. When I walked past here to do some of my footage in the beginning of the video and made my trek back That's when I saw this. This was hiding last time. I should say first time when I scouted this area and accidentally stumbled upon it. I knew that was there. Didn't know this was here. Oh, there's a stamping on it too. Oh, I hope we can actually get deep inside of this. This is a building of sorts. Has safety first on the top there. Wow, this is fascinating. T. Dave and Hall and Sons Contractors, Moosic, Pennsylvania. Now this itself is not sitting in Moosic. They may be from Moosic, but this is the border of Old Forge and Duryea. Moosic would be over there. Oh my God, what the hell did we find here? 1921. Central Fire Room. It's like W.A. May, President A.K. Morris, and Vice President W.P. Jennings, Central Support. Wow. This is over 100 years old. 103 years. And look at the little insignature, like anchors. And it's not even like vandalized or graffitied up. And excuse me, look at the safety first etched into this. Like that is about a ½ inch in, and it's holding up so incredibly well. And yes, there is some underneath rooms in there. Stuff like this is why I explore, why I go on adventures, and why I bring you along, because you honestly never know what you'll find. And that's a term I've said time and time again, and it holds true each and every time, because I knew there was mining ruins back here, which I accidentally stumbled upon, which I didn't know prior to that. But then you find stuff like this, perfectly preserved. I'm hoping, like, since they reclaimed that land on the other side of the creek, if they decide to reclaim this, that they save stuff like this. That's like a one-of-a-kind piece. You have that. You have the contractor's stamp there. Safety first right there. The big safety first over there. I'm almost speechless. This is such a cool finding. So, going back to my earlier speculation, does that mean this is a fireproof room? Maybe to keep dry goods or explosive material in here, so that there's no chance of it getting wet or a spark? I don't know. I'm going to capture some pictures, check a bit more around the outside, and then we're going to duck under and see how far we could go. Just to note too, I spent the last 5 minutes pulling all these little sticky, thorny things off my shirt and my gloves. Everything just kind of wants to grab onto you. Probably on my hat too. So I got a fresh battery in here, got the flashlight. I'll leave my backpack inside of here so it's not weighing me down. I can maybe get into some tighter, cramped quarters. But just remember, this is not all there is. This is just a bonus find. Something to me equally fascinating is behind here. We haven't even gotten to that yet, and we still have to continue around showing you where these rail lines met up with the main line. So a lot more to come. My assumption, which could be incorrect, is that this was much taller at one time, where you're able to walk in. I think this was the doorway, the manway. This could have been maybe for equipment or mine cars or something else. There's some strapping here, so something may have been over this, like a metal or steel door. But I'm thinking the ground is obviously raised up higher than what it normally was. Now overhead is exposed. It's open here. It's not sealed up. It could have been at one time. I do see a ledge where it could have been encased or covered up. Thankfully, it's winter time. I don't have to worry about snakes. Hopefully this is not a bear den, but there is like a Fisher-Price or Play School picnic table here. Rather bizarre and strange. So right here is something of interest. So this tree trunk or root is growing through it. That is an archway made out of brick, which was open at one time, and it's just filled in with material. Oh, okay. So there's a steel plate on top of us here. And a bird's nest right there with some icicles. That's a heavy-duty steel plate. Here's looking back. Obviously, I could have just walked in there. I did have the camera there and wanted to show you what it was like crawling through there. It's like a opening of sorts. Now this is not solid concrete per se. This is built in increments with blocks. It's like giant building blocks. So it's not one giant poured piece. I'm noticing that right now. Even like these beams right here, it's not all original. There are individual pieces. There's another opening there. Almost resembles like a little fireplace, but I don't know, fire room. Was it to contain fire or to prevent fire? All right. Ooh, there's something hanging down over there. Let me get up there and scout around a bit, make sure it's worth continuing, and I'll bring it back. Oh, there's a brick, an opening there. WVB Company on the brick. Yeah, let me just briefly scout around, venture up ahead. You guys hang out here and I'll come back and get you. Well, I got some good news and some not so good news. Good news is I could bring you up here. Bad news is it's plugged up beyond here. But hang on, I'll come back and get you, and you can see it for yourself. So here we have where it's protruding through. I don't know if that's foam or dirt or what, but it's hanging down as well as some earth from above. See an opening there, obviously with daylight. This is a sectioned off room. So obviously it's not sealed up, but it is a sectioned room. I'm still able to stand up, straight above. Really wet and damp, smells musty in here. I believe there's something on the other side of this wall where we saw those little fireplace things. Okay, so here is where we can't go any further. Now, some of these openings is what we saw from above. But I believe this goes further than this. It's just that it's plugged up. So, this area is blocked off, but I'm pretty certain it goes further beyond there if you were to maybe dig it out or crawl down one of the openings from the other area that we saw from top. But this material is built up. It's kind of pinching off and you can't go any further. I will stick you through the hole there to give you an orientation as to where we are, what it looks like. But yeah, we can't go any further than here. And even over there, it's just pinches out the daylight. All right, you guys are through the hole. That's what it looks like. And I'm awkwardly reaching to get you guys that shot. So let's get back where it's a bit more comfortable and not so hunched over. All right, it's always nice when you can stand straight up again. Although, I will say it's not super impressive on the inside here. What we found on the outside of it makes up for that. With the contractor stamp, the safety first over the both doorways, and the president and vice president of the fire room. I mean, it's just another piece of the puzzle. But based on what you saw, by all means, let me know. Do you think this was a room, like a fireproof room for explosives and stuff? Or was it a room to contain fire for heat? I don't know. I'll try to figure out what I can. If I do learn anything from anyone through my research, I will share it on the screen, obviously, or in the video. Otherwise, if not, it's open to the comment section to see what you guys think. Let me get back outside. We will continue around, see if there's any more openings. Because I do know the foundation, the top, I did see some openings beyond here. It goes deeper. So maybe there's another opening. If not, we're going to continue around the bend, showing you where the rails terminated for the temporary holding area. And I'll show you the main line, the Erie main line that serviced this coal company. And then last, I'm saving what I feel the best for last, is what's behind here. Not one, but two large structures that even when I scouted it, I reached out to some of my UGM friends. They couldn't even identify what it was. So that one is rather peculiar. We'll see what happens, what we can discover now that more things are visible. Now that I'm going to take my time to thoroughly investigate it, maybe we'll get another piece of that puzzle. But that's still to come. A little bit further away now. So as I mentioned, we were only in this half of the building. There's still all of that. I'm hoping there's an opening on the backside here. And those of you paying attention, well, you may see something in the background. Like I said, that's still to come. Oh, it's not looking good. No openings back here. So this building is at least twice as big as what we were inside of. We were only in one part of it. I guess you could call it a building, but it's specifically built to be partially in the ground and a structurally sound building, solid concrete, blocked together, some steel plating, some brick. It's not going anywhere anytime soon on its own, I'll tell you that. But unfortunately, we can't go any further than what we saw. Those little arched, what I'm calling fireplaces, they're probably not even close to a fireplace. Those probably do connect to inside here. And where it's plugged up, I know it went further in that direction. So it's bigger than we have access to, but I showed you what I could. Random piece of wall right here with a pipe coming out of it. Fuel can. So, all right, if you're still watching, which I hope you are, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek that's going to entice you to want to keep watching. I'm going to give it to you for 2 seconds. You ready? 1, 2. That's all I'm showing you. Those up there is something I've never ever seen before, and I'll share what my initial thoughts were and why I feel I'm incorrect about it. So walking right here, I saw some blow molds, Christmas decorations, and this looks like another type of foundation here. So let's cross on top of that, make our way back to the rail line, and continue down towards the culvert and where the Erie main line would have met up with these tracks. Am I glad I came this way? We stumbled upon more. I think I know what this was based on what I've seen in the past and what I've identified in the past, both intact and in the same condition as this. All these posts here are in a particular shape, and they all have anchor bolts on top. Some of you probably know what this is before I even say it. I'm about 99% sure this was a coal tipple. That's where the coal would have been brought up, probably by a coal car, hoisted up, and then dumped into a hopper, and could have either went into the gondola cars and or trucks for delivery. I'm pretty confident about that. I remember at the, what was it, the Glenburn mine site, they had a coal tipple there which was still intact. I filmed that probably 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. But most recently, just a few months ago, along the D&H rail trail in Simpson, heading towards, where was I heading towards? Forest City and beyond, I did find ruins just like this, signifying a coal tipple was there. So this is hiding back here. Beyond just that, I'm now seeing where the temporary rail yard or holding area would have been. Actually, I think there's a secondary tipple here. 2 coal tipples right next to each other. Look at, we got multiple lines here. 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 lines. And they're coming right through this area here, right next or right underneath the coal tipple. I'm pretty certain they may have gotten loaded here. Oh, there's a skull right there too. It's like maybe a deer skull. 2 tipples, less than 20 feet apart. Multiple rails here. They are cut, and I know they're not in their original place, but they're probably pretty close to where they were running through here. Let's see, let's keep going, see what else we could discover, because we are making our way towards the main line, and that is something I do want to show you. I know there's a couple more things up ahead that I spotted during my scouting that we haven't come to yet. There's more rail right there. So I'm going to show you on the one image, which I believe I already shared, showing you the area that I think we're in right now, where there is multiple lines just sitting next to each other at a temporary holding line, which would make sense if they were either placed here after getting loaded or waiting to get loaded at the coal tipple. I'm feeling like that's the area that we're in right now, and there's some mounds of materials here, some more wooden ties, concrete. Yeah, there's a pile of rubble here. This looks like an old building or foundation of a building. Oh, look at all the ties here. Holy crap. Yep, we're in that area. Oh, this is like a little jackpot zone. Ties and rails. I'm going to see if I can maybe even get a date off one of them. There's some good exposed areas here. This is all pushed here. And I believe this was done when they did the bringing in the equipment for the mine reclamation, because we're really close to that area right now. I'm noticing too, this is getting more fascinating. This is a little pit. These rails are sitting on top of beams. There's a steel beam right there. So this was exposed at one time. So here's one rail, there's another. They look pretty close to the right distance apart. As far as dates go, there may be something there. Let me get over there, check it out, and see what I could show you on camera. And I'm looking and I don't see anything. It's too far gone, too far weathered. But this is not the true bottom. There's like some steel plating or beams. So this was like a pit area. I don't know for what. Kind of reminds me of like a ash dump, ash pit for a steam locomotive, but I don't think it was for that. But unfortunately, no visible dating on what I could see on these sections of rail, which just are buried under there. Lots and lots of ties, a literal mountain of ties. I'm gonna let you know what this is in just a moment. There's the mountain of ties. Here's more rail coming through that's exposed. And it keeps going. So we're following the rail. This, like I said, is one of the storage line areas. And they actually come out right here. This is just one of them. There's more in the background. So the lines unofficially terminate here. You can see the connector. Nothing obviously visible as far as dating. So that is the old Erie main line, which is now LNS, Luzerne, Susquehanna, subsidiary of R.J. Corman, which they are working in the area, so we may or may not have a train coming by. But there's another set of rails there and something else made out of wooden ties, as well as a type of retaining wall. I want to show you that next. Another area where the rails terminate, but do continue over there. And this one is right next to this large wall made out of cribbing, where they got all the ties interlaced. And on top of it, which I was on top of it for the scouting of it, it's just flat. Comes right out, so I mean it's close proximity to the rails. So maybe a front end loader or something, or a dump truck could have dumped from on top of there into an awaiting car right here. But there's just so much activity back here. There's more of the rail. And then we have this over here, what you may have seen in the earlier small photo montage when I showed you what I found during my scouting and accidentally finding this area. So again, don't know what it is. It is old. It's rotting. It's about the width of a mine car. But beyond what we see, I don't know its use. Lengthwise, from that very end to that end, about maybe 12, 13 feet. And from the distance between these, maybe 4 feet at the most. Not very big. But just the amount of rails back here is just mind-blowing. And to know that all these rails were not used for through traffic. They were only used to service the Pennsylvania Coal Company Old Forge Colliery. You can only imagine the activity and the amount of coal that it was producing to have all this back here, which is a decent distance away. This is now Duryea, Pennsylvania. So we are now outside of Old Forge, but everything we just were in was the border of Duryea into Old Forge. And the reclaimed area is Avoca and Lower Moosic. Yeah, this is without a doubt the holding area, staging area that I showed you with all those lines of tracks from so long ago. And probably hard to see, but my glove and my clothes are just getting attacked by these little prickly bastards. It's all I could call them. They don't want to come off. And it's like Velcro. So I'm going to be spending a good time taking all these off, because even in the washer they don't come off. You have to manually take them off. All right, enough of this area. I'm going to get down to this road here, let you know what that is. We're going to walk down a bit to the culvert and explore this area just for a little bit before we head to our target destination of those two big structures I gave you a sneak peek at earlier. So what you're looking at is my initial discovery. Not sure if you saw that. There's a car down there and a bus that just passed by. That's York Avenue. I was riding my bike down York Avenue and I turned in off that road onto this dirt road. Now, up until a couple years ago, I did see a lot of activity here with heavy equipment, with excavators, dozers, loaders, rock trucks, and they're always staged out there by the road, and I saw them semi-frequently passing down here. This was their access road. This access road led them to the area that is now reclaimed. That's what they were working on. Also, this area here, and when I say area, just general area, this is where the connection was made. This was the Erie main line. Erie Railroad going south, going north, and the switches to the spur line were somewhere in this area. They came off, they may have even been a little bit further up, but anyways, they came off the main line, came around a curve, and made its way in there, which is where we just were. Since there's lines all over the place, I don't know the exact location, but I do know it's this general area. That's where the switch made place. 2 lines, one to, one from the holding staging area that we saw back here by Mount Timor, I'll call it that, and then the ruins I showed you by the cone piles. Now, as we walk further down, and I showed you on some of the map images, as this area was being reclaimed, they did make a temporary bridge of sorts crossing over the creek, because down here is where the creek does come under the rail line through the culvert and continues in between the reclaimed land and the wasteland. So they did have a temporary road bridge made across here, which was visible on the maps. The equipment was staged down here. They were working on it in different sections. Oh, and up there's 2 individuals with surveying equipment. They're surveying this land. Boy, am I glad I'm documenting this now. Who knows what's going to become of it? But they're surveying their reclaimed land. I will not be surprised if they do build something commercial here. But as we make our way down to the water, they did make they took the road out, took the bridge out, and they have some blocks here stopping vehicles from going any further, I guess. Like some brand new tarping or pool cover there. There's the culvert. It's nothing super impressive. I can see light at the other side. It's concrete. It just goes underneath the rail line to the other side. But this is the creek coming through. That was the whole area that was reclaimed in the last, I believe, 3 or 4 years at the most. And the road came across here for the heavy equipment. When they were finished, they removed it, made it look how it should, back to its natural look here. And then this area is left untouched, but who knows what's going to become of it. Now they are walking towards me. I'm going to hang out here for a minute, see if they ask me any questions, and maybe I'll ask them if there's any proposed plans for something here. But anyways, that's a quick look at it. I'll keep you updated as we continue.
They're just flying to do some topography. That's all we're setting the target for. Going across there too. We're just the field guys. They don't tell us anything. right. Have a good day. Yes, you too.
I was successful in making contact. They were initially walking away, then they turned around, so I went closer on the other side of the creek, and I just said hello and said, do you know if they're proposing to build something here? And they said, honestly, we don't know. They said, we've just been hired to do topography of this land. I said, of that land or this land too? They said both. So they're going to be coming over here, surveying, doing topography work. They said, we're just a few guys. We don't know what it's for. The one guy said, we think maybe for the wetlands area, for like the water coming through, but he's not certain. I said, that's usually how it goes. They don't tell you much. I said, probably the less you know, the better. They said, yeah, exactly. So I'm just having a feeling that this is not going to be here a whole lot longer. So the fact that I'm documenting it today, first part of 2024, it was meant to be. With that being said, we have arrived at our final destination. Not one, but two massive structures. We could go inside of them and hopefully learn a bit more about them. But upon first discovery, reaching out to some of my friends who have experience in the mining world, they didn't know what they were for. And here we are, our final target and destination on today's exploring adventure. Now, earlier, if you're paying attention, I said that I initially thought these were something else. I thought these were water tower bases for like a water tank. I don't believe that's the case. And there's a few reasons why. Number one is that this one still has a roof on top of it, partially intact, and it's like a pitched roof. If this is the water tank base, there wouldn't be a roof. There would have been a metal or wooden tank on top of it. Number two, the inside is not hollowed out. It's rather intricate, comparatively speaking. Now, they are behind that what was it called? The fire room building, which is just over there, maybe 80 to 75, 80 feet away. So these are behind them. A couple of things I could show you before we actually head on the inside is that the foundation was utilized with narrow gauge rail as the rebar of sorts for the structural integrity of the concrete. So they're both laying lengthwise and that way. A lot of narrow gauge rail here. And those wooden planks you see as part of the roof sticking out. So you could tell that this part was underground at one time, most likely. You know, when it's the rougher, choppier concrete like that, usually that's shaped like that from it laying against the earth when it's poured. But obviously this earth has been altered over time, and now everything's exposed. There's an opening there. It's an opening on the other side. Let's go on the other side. I also have to be careful too. There's a lot of planks of wood here with nails sticking out. I think somebody may have had a tree stand here, or maybe they came from up there. I don't know. But they don't look all that terribly old. It's actually unearthed right there. It's like undermined. Actually goes in about 3 to 5 feet in that direction. Now, if we were to keep going this way, this would basically take us to that retaining wall with the cribbing, and where that little small bridge was placed, which I said looks like it's for mine cars. And then over there is like the rail yard staging area. So that's where we are in relation. It's over that direction. Up here is people's property. We're not going up there, but we are going to go up closer to here. So there is an opening here, like a window. Can't get in from there, but I'm going to climb up on the backside, get in between them, and we should be able to go inside of both of them. walking from the back side, you could see more of the roof on this one. So it was a cylindrical pitched roof. This one doesn't have one. Maybe it did at one time. So they wanted to cover it up for a reason. Not to say it couldn't have been used for water. I thought there was an opening on this side. There's not. We'll have to peer through the window on the other side. So here's why it's so fascinating to me. As I said, it's rather intricate on the inside. It's not a hollowed out tank. There's these posts or pillars. There's the roof up there, cross beams. It's rather unique compared to other similar structures like this. If this was a water tower, water tank, it wouldn't look as it does. It would be mainly hollow on the inside. But let's get inside. Let's check it out. Gonna have to be careful where we step. There's a lot of garbage in here, probably some nails. But I do want to give it the best documentation possible since we're here. And now that we know this area is being surveyed, who knows how much longer it's going to be here. And there's a train coming. That train, I believe, is Norfolk Southern on the old D&H line. Not the most graceful of entries, but this is what I'm working with here. Just random planks of wood and discarded material. So here's the inside. It is pretty cool. It's built like a brick, you know what house. If you guys know that old saying, Isaiah, like a brick crap house. It is really well built. So it's not completely round. It is like sectioned off. It's an old like hornet's nest right there. The roof is intact over here. This section, the rest of it's kind of rotted and exposed. A lot of it is laying on the inside here. But to this day, still don't know what it was used for. If you guys have any thoughts or theories, I don't think this held water, but I can't rule it out. But with the roof on it, nothing was overhead, so whatever was inside was contained inside here, and that's the only way to get in or out, which is a doorway, a manway. So there are certain things kind of planked up as far as walls and stuff, or ledges or shelves, but I don't know if that's 100% original or not. I'm going to snap some photos, climb back out. We'll go around to the other side and try to get a glimpse in the other one from that window, which I can't reach to crawl into, but I can at least reach you guys in there, and we'll see if it looks identical to this. What are you waiting for? Come on. Okay, yeah, it's pretty much identical, except no roof. I don't even see the roof laying on the floor. It's pretty hollowed out. Just leaves and branches and debris on the floor. Yeah, these are a mystery. I truly don't know what their use was. All I do know is that they're identical, with one having a roof, one not. They're concreted. They're built really tough. And they're furthest away from the rails and stuff. There's the fire room right there, so Airplane circling around. Didn't get to see the train, but we heard it. And just to mention, I'm here over 3 hours now, close to 3.5. As I anticipated, I was going to be putting in a lot of footwork, and I did. Some big cone piles here. That's a good ways up there. Camera does not do it justice. And I'm going to be spending about 30 minutes getting all this crap off of me. It's all over everywhere. My shoes, my laces, my pants, my hoodie, my gloves. It just does not like to come off easily. Coming here today, I am glad that we did. Knowing that I found this accidentally was even more special to me, because this is not something that was shared to me by a viewer. It wasn't something documented on a website. It was something I found by pure luck, just by exploring a random trail on my e-bike and learning that not only was an area that I was very familiar with in the 90s is now reclaimed, this land here may also follow suit. With those surveyors being out here, who knows what's going to happen? And it's becoming increasingly more common now where townships, municipalities, and boroughs are getting government grants to have mine reclamation done in their areas. Even it was announced just shortly, not long ago, that near the Pioneer Tunnel coal mine tour in Ashland, Pennsylvania, they're going to be doing mine reclamation there. There's an area in Dixon City that I explored last year with the Mine Loki Bridge that connected Dixon City to near the recycling center. That area was reclaimed. And these reclamation areas, prior to them being reclaimed, have not only tons and tons of material, which is what their primary focus is, but there's sometimes buildings, equipment, basements. I mean, there's all types of things that are tied to these areas for the operations. And today goes to show that there's a good variety of stuff still out here. The 2 tanks, which I saved to the end because I was most intrigued when I first found those, but that fire room with the placards, it was incredibly well preserved. And I hope that they save those and preserve them for future generations to show what's taking place back here. And even today, walking this old rail line, now it's just a trail, but 2 lines came through here, through the neighborhood, across the river, and serviced the Old Forge Colliery of the Pennsylvania Coal Company. Between what I shared with you with the old map images, speculation, guessing, and thought I lost the glove. And by what you guys share in the comments section, we can all come together and appreciate this mining history and learn from one another. And at the end of this lengthy video, feel a bit more appreciative of what took place in the history of the coal mining days. With that being said, thank you so very much for coming along. I greatly appreciate your support for watching. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.